Okay. I gotta do a video. I missed a week. I had to catch up. I gotta tell the people that, I'm gonna look into it and see if maybe I need to take a month off, figure some stuff out before I start doing more videos. So if people come in and like, oh well, where's his next video? They'll know. And now, but Ash, Ash, I gotta tell them about the skill treadmill and the skill curve, bell curve. These are some issues I've come across in role playing. Yeah? Well, I got to do the video. So, the skill treadmill and the bell curve. Uh, or I guess I shouldn't limit those to just skills. They can also be checks, saves, what have you. So, okay. How do I explain the treadmill? Well, you're and these are issues you're less likely to see in 5e because they squish the stats down. Uh, but if you were playing 3.5 or probably Pathfinder still as well, I don't know. I haven't played Pathfinder Second Edition, so I'm not sure how the stats really go. But so let's say you're a rogue and you decided to dump as many points as you could into pick locks. So early on, you already have 10 skill in pick locks, and let's say 5 from your stat adjustment. So you already have a 15 pick locks. So why are standard peasants suddenly locking their doors with skill check 25s and 30s? Those are expensive locks. No, really. If you read into 3.5, it's like a 35 is already getting into masterwork locks. So yeah, you push your skill enough, and it's like, oh yeah, I already have a plus 20 check to my lock picking. Well, why is a standard peasant's house locked with a 35? It shouldn't be. Arguably, a standard peasant should sometimes not even have a lock. But that aside, if we start getting steady, yeah, most people are going to have at least a standard lock. But if you're in the poorer section and there's 35s, well, what's in that building? Oh, just rags and near destitute people? Well, that doesn't make sense. You don't put a level 35 lock on there. And that's the treadmill. When you okay over there? The treadmill is when the checks grow consistently with your own skill growth. Now, yes, some things will always go higher. It's like one of the things of when your character gets bigger numbers, it's so that they can take on the monsters that have bigger numbers, usually that give bigger rewards. Uh, you know, even if you're working on prestige leveling, taking down a dragon is often because, well, the dragon has treasure, sometimes magical. You okay down there? But, if you put all the effort into raising a skill and suddenly every instance of that skill has just increased, has bloated, as it were. Uh, let's say, yeah, you have 20, you know, 20 on your pick locks, but you haven't put anything into your pickpocketing. So it's a 5 because, you've got a good dex score. And, you go to pickpocket a merchant and suddenly the DM's telling you, oh yeah, that's only a 15. That shouldn't be a DC-15. A merchant should be a, especially, maybe you have a noble that's very loose with his money and he doesn't keep all his purses well kept, and yeah, he might be a 15. But a well-to-do merchant is probably going to have latches on belt pouches with uh, heavy bands, heavy straps on them, so you can't just cut them off. Uh, yeah, he's gonna be a at least a 20, if not like up to 35 to pickpocket. But there's a difference between what should be static and what should scale. And a peasant's house shouldn't scale to your pickpocket, well, your lock picking. So that's the treadmill, where all your growth doesn't matter because difficulty just artificially increases to meet your growth. So the bell curve. Well, the bell curve is associated with the treadmill, only so I was in a game that had this issue. And it was a dungeon master that likes traps. So there are plenty of traps on the floor. Every floor of this dungeon. He gave static values. But he decided all those static values based on whoever had the highest check. So while we have some, can't remember if it was a bard or a rogue or what, but he was a werewolf and he had some really high dex score and other stuff. So like any kind of dex check was really big for him, which meant any of us, any of the rest of us that get stuck making dex check were like, well, it's 20 or nothing. Because if you know what grading on a curve is, it's basically whoever does, one person can do really, really well, and that sets it off for the rest of them. So, if you have a class that averages around somewhere and you introduce someone that does blows all their scores away, they're all pushed back now. And it's a terrible way to design a dungeon. It's a terrible way to design an adventure. To have every check based around what your whoever's top points are. And especially when you get into systems that aren't 5e, those number variations get much bigger. Um, I mean, even with 5e, having proficiency on a check, you know, can be, well, late game. Late game, it gets to be huge. But prior to that, ooh, sorry, prior to that, it can still be big because if someone has just really high stats, and it's like everyone might have dumped, you know, if everyone has an 18 and something, that's a +4. So now everyone that has to roll a check that they aren't, you know, aren't one of their really good ones is now has to roll 5 higher or four or 5 higher because someone else is good with that stat. You know, it it's frustrating because the more specialized the party is, the more it punishes everyone else for not being specialized in the same specialization. But that's the purpose of a party, is like everyone covers a niche or a certain specialty. Bleh. I can talk, I swear. So yeah, doing skill checks and proficiency checks and saves based on whoever is best at it in the party, even when it's the person that has the lowest stats in the party that trips something or has to do something, it's painful. And it's like, well, what did you intend for this other person to trip every one of these traps? Did you intend for this other person to be here this week? And oh, I got a story about that. Yeah, when the DM sets up, well, we needed this character here to deal with this threat. Well, they weren't here this week. Yeah, well, I don't have anything else planned. Yeah. So the treadmill and the curve are both terrible ways of doing checks and proficiencies and whatever else have you. It's, you know, should enemies get stronger as you go on adventuring? Well, yes, as your characters get stronger, they want to take on, usually want to take on stronger threats. So, of course, sometimes rolls still need to be in a certain range. Uh, but if you specialize in something, you shouldn't be essentially punished by gaining no ground in the end. And it's you can say it's a punishment, you can say it's an illusion of choice, you can probably think up a couple things for it. So yeah, there's that. Uh anyways, that's gonna be it for me today. I have a couple things that I'm dealing with this month. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep on making videos weekly. Uh I will try. Otherwise, I will take a break, look at a couple things, try to set up my channel to look nicer, and find some places to get the word out that I'm here and see if I can drum up a community that can give me some feedback. If there's anything you would like me to talk about in these videos uh, with role playing, please send a comment down below. And I will see you guys when I see you. Roll well.